Hey everybody, fasten your seatbelts. It's another edition of Browns Thoughts here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. Listen, the Browns lose 21-15. To say this is a demoralizing loss is the understatement of the century. Considering the way this game started and who they were playing. The Giants are terrible. They're one of the 3 to 4 worst teams in the NFL. You have them in your own house. You get a turnover on the opening kickoff of the game and score on the very first play from scrimmage. So you're up a touchdown within the first 12 seconds of this game. And then you proceed to score 8 points the rest of the entire game. And yes, this is a collective failure. Kevin Stefanski needs to own this. Jim Schwartz did not have a good game either. The offense with Ken Dorsey and Kevin Stefanski got outcoached by Brian Daboll and Shane Bowen. I think that's their defensive coordinator. They had a good game. The Giants really earned this game, even though they tried their damnedest to give it away at the end. That's the other part of what makes this such a collective and demoralizing failure for this organization, to be 1-2 and losing your first 2 games at home. And now you go on the road for 3 straight. You got Raiders, Commanders, and then so you got Raiders, Commanders, and Eagles. Good luck, man. Good luck. It's just like to start the season 1-2 and do it in the fashion as this. There's so many things to tackle here, because the Browns as an offense did not have a touchdown drive longer than 50 yards. Their longest drive was 49. They had a short field that made it 21-15 in the fourth quarter. That's it. And then the Giants just kept giving them opportunities, missed field goals. They had to punt deep in territory. They had all these opportunities that the Browns were dropping passes at the end of the game. But I'm going to let Cedric Tillman off the hook. He should have caught that. That's not the reason the Browns lost this game. Let's get real. The game was lost in the first half because, yes, there was a bad penalty. The Browns should have had an interception, but Greg Newsome is called for, hitting Daniel Jones in the face, which was a weak roughing the passer call, but I understand it. Like, you can't hit a guy in the face mask. It was soft, but that's just the way the NFL is officiating this game. That changed the entire game because the Giants were doing nothing. They had a 3 and out, and they were on the verge of getting stopped again, and somehow they go down the field and score a touchdown, and it just was not pretty the rest of the way. Browns only get 8 points the rest of the way after that opening drive touchdown, that opening play. And it's exactly the Jacksonville game. This is exactly what I was trying to tell people last week. Deshaun Watson on script was fine. He was fine. He only had 1 play this week, but he was fine last week. Kevin Stefanski and his offense, more so than, Ken Dorsey's offense, the hand-picked coordinator that Deshaun Watson wanted to bring in to run a better offense for him because he's the $230 million quarterback. But hey, they had 9 points on offense last week against Jacksonville the rest of the game. 8 points after that first play. It's the exact same thing. This guy is not good enough to carry the boatload of a contract that he has. And I'm not going to hear it from Browns fans saying, yeah, 8 sacks. That's way too many. The offensive line was injured. It was beat up. Still, Deshaun Watson is getting paid $230 million guaranteed. And he had bad offensive line play in Houston. So don't give me that crap. Do not give me the crap that, hey, what's Deshaun supposed to do? Yeah, he should be better. And one of the key plays in this game where they give up a strip sack, Dewan Jones got blown by, but Deshaun Watson had an opportunity to step up in the pocket and maybe make a throw. But he just does not have the pocket awareness. He does not have the elusiveness that he used to have. The Browns are paying for a guy that was okay 4 years ago, and now he's got all the baggage, and he hasn't played a lot. I think we're up to 15 starts in his 3 years with the Browns. Rip the Band-Aid off, everybody. The core issue with this entire football team, and I don't know if it stems down to the rest of the roster because, yeah, they were playing with a lot of energy, but when you don't score and you don't move the ball, the defense has to stay on the field. And I give credit to Brian Daboll and the way he called this game. And they were able to, move the ball And Daniel Jones looked really good in this game, which is impossible for me to say. 236 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, he was good. And Malik Neighbors was just clowning this team. Malik Neighbors goes for 2 touchdowns, and the only reason he got shut down in the second half, he had 8 catches. He had 8 catches for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors is on his way to potentially being Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's been fabulous through 3 weeks for this team. And they're a 1-win team. He's been awesome. And they put Denzel Ward on him, and he did nothing in the second half. So that lies at the feet of Jim Schwartz. They were getting out-schemed. They were getting out-coached the entire way. But again, the whole thing peels right back to the guy you were paying $230 million for. $230 million for is this is the reality. So Deshaun Watson, like I said, 5 years, $230 million fully guaranteed. We're now at 15 starts, 21 to 37, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's it. He had 26 yards rushing. Yes, Jerome Ford had a really bad fumble near when they were going to probably go down and score. It shouldn't have come to this. They should have blown this team away. And the offense could not move the ball for most of this game. They finally picked up some rhythm in the fourth quarter, and credit to them. They finally were able to actually get some stuff going. But run for 69 yards. Amari Cooper has a fantastic game. 7 catches, 86 yards. He looked banged up near the end of this thing. Jerome Ford was really solid, honestly, before that fumble, which was a miscommunication. But again, I will keep continuing to trumpet this, and I know how Brown's social media is going to act. It's going to be very divisive. There's a lot of people who are like, he can't play. We've got to move on from him. And there's going to be a lot of people saying, well, the offensive line should have played better. You guys know where I land. He's got to play better. I don't give a shit if the offensive line is giving up 8 sacks. You are getting paid an inordinate sum of money to be the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. We were told you are the missing piece to this team. And yet, you can barely muster 200 yards passing. This guy, I think he had 200 plus yards against the Cowboys, but that was in garbage time. They were getting mauled in that game. And yeah, offensive line play is a problem. Deshaun Watson is supposed to be the guy that's supposed to save the franchise. Rip the Band-Aid off. It's over. You cannot tell me that you go up 7-0 early in this game. The Giants are doing nothing. Yeah, you had a bad penalty that allowed the Giants to score. You should have still been ahead of this team and not be down 21-7, 21-15, and then having to blame Cedric Tillman and Jerome Ford for mistakes at the end of that game. This game was lost in the first half because the offense could not move the ball, and you only get 8 points after that opening drive. Again, identical to the Jacksonville game. We need to stop making excuses for this guy. He cannot play, and that contract is a goddamn albatross, and I hope the NFL steps in and makes this decision easy for the Haslams, because until somebody wants to tell Jimmy Haslam that this guy can't play because he has too much pride to bench him, Kevin Stefanski should have all the authority to do that, but he doesn't, because Jimmy Haslam wants this guy playing because he gave him all this money, and he got hoodwinked, he got bamboozled, and it's really embarrassing, because I have been through so many tough Browns losses in my life. This is about as demoralizing as it gets. Like that Cowboys game, yeah, they got beaten. To lose at home and be pretty much dominated for a large chunk of this game by the New York Giants? Are you kidding me? And a lot of it just relies on the fact that the offense cannot move the fucking ball because the quarterback fucking sucks. He sucks. And I know that easy out with the 8 sacks, yes, they had a lot of injuries. Jed Wills stinks. DeJuan Jones, I don't know what the fuck happened, but they were having to play Joe Bitonio, a career guard, on the left tackle position. They moved Ethan Posick off the center to the left guard. They're putting in Zach Zinter at right guard because Wyatt Teller's out of the game. So you're having Nick Harris at center. Like, they literally had to do a wholesale change on the offensive line. And it was not good. Bill Callahan ain't fixing this either, because Tennessee is not much better. So all you people trying to clamor for Bill Callahan to come back, spare me. But again, all of the Browns' core issues go back to the fact that the guy that they spent all this fucking money for is mid to terrible. This is not an okay, acceptable stat line. 21 to 37, 196 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This is the New York fucking Giants. You should be beating them by 2 touchdowns. You were favored by 6.5. So, if you're a Browns fan out there and you are trying to make excuses for how this could work, the evidence has been there for 3 weeks that Deshaun Watson is an albatross both for contractually and on the field, because they can't move the ball with him on the field, and obviously the contract is almost impossible to get out of. And it's just really depressing to see, the life get taken out of the stadium, because back-to-back weeks you get these opening drive scores and then don't do anything the rest of the game. You were lucky to skate by because Jacksonville's terrible. Giants are probably even more awful, and you couldn't overcome it. And the number one focal point, I will continue to say a big theme throughout this whole thing, is that this all lies at the feet of the quarterback. Because he is getting paid all the money. He is supposed to be your leader. He is supposed to be your face of the franchise. You gave him all this money. You gave up all these draft picks to make this happen. This loss cannot fucking happen. Obviously, Kevin Stefanski, being the coach, is going to have to own this the most. But what is he supposed to do, man? Some of these calls were bad on his part, but Deshaun Watson, that contract absolves any excuses in my eyes. You just cannot continue to tell me that this guy is one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, considering what they paid and what they gave up for him. I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of defending it. This game was lost in the first half because they could not move the ball after that first drive. They obviously caught a terrible break with that penalty. Also, rule number 1 for me, if you're the Browns defense, I understand you had a nice choreographed celebration. When there's a flag on the ground, you probably shouldn't be celebrating until you know what the flag is about, okay? I thought the penalty on Greg Newsome was terrible. I understand why they called it, but that whole thing just shifted all the momentum. But then you look up and down the rest of this game, the Browns could not go the length of the field. And what does that go back to? Quarterback and play calling. So Kevin Stefanski obviously is going to get a brunt of the blame. The offensive line is going to get a brunt of the blame. But you can't have a guy getting paid the amount of money that Deshaun Watson is having and going under 200 yards against the New York fucking Giants. Okay? That is just... It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And if you guys want to continue to just convince me that somehow this is going to work, you saw last year that when Deshaun Watson went out and you picked up Joe Flacco off the goddamn couch when we thought he couldn't play, and Joe Flacco took this team to the playoffs. What's there saying that Jameis Winston can't engineer this offense the same way? He'd probably turn it over at the same level or maybe even more, but at least they'd be moving the ball, and Jameis Winston's got this YOLO, you only live once mindset where he doesn't give a shit. He'll just run around and do whatever the fuck he wants. At least in that respect, you're not being held down by a guy who's clearly scared, who is clearly rattled and completely broken in Deshaun Watson. So I don't know what the delay is here. Maybe it is legally they're waiting for the NFL to kind of step in and basically say, hey, he's suspended because this latest lawsuit is going to probably just sink this organization even further. But it's embarrassing. And I continue to say this all lays at the top of the organization with Jimmy Haslam. Let the football people do their fucking jobs. Because Andrew Berry's a great GM. Kevin Stefanski's a great head coach. He's got his faults, but what coach is perfect? And he didn't have a great game today. But it all lays at the feet of number 4. Because that loss should have never happened, especially the way the game started. And then 8 points the rest of the way. That's back-to-back weeks where your offense gets an opening drive touchdown. They're great on script. And then the rest of the game, you suck. Yes, there were some things in the game that happened that sort of led to the loss, but this was lost in the first half. I'm sorry. I'll keep going around in circles and explaining this whole thing because this is just, I'm sick and tired of people just trying to stand up and try and believe in a quarterback just because, hey, we got a guy who was good 4 years ago. He's not good. He's washed up. He's a terrible person. Stop defending this guy. And until the Browns rip the Band-Aid off, this is going to continue because, yeah, offensive line play is obviously a problem and they need to fix some things there. But quarterback is supposed, especially when you're getting paid at that level, like a Patrick Mahomes, he had some bad offensive line play and he was able to overcome it. And at one point, Deshaun Watson was thought to be near the top with, a Patrick Mahomes and near the top of the league in terms of great quarterback plays. Then he sat out a couple years. He got suspended. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. It's just like rust. And also he's just not good anymore. And the Browns paid for a guy who was good 4 years ago on a terrible team. I feel like this is so fucking embarrassing. One of the worst losses that I've ever seen as a Cleveland Browns fan. Like, I don't know how you could come out of this game as an organization and honestly convince yourselves that this is a playoff team and B, you have a future at quarterback. You've got to move on from this guy. So that's Browns thoughts. We'll have a lot of more reaction from NFL week number 3. Will the Ravens go to 0-3? Will the Bengals go to 0-3 on Monday night? The Steelers are 3-0. Shout out Danny Udelf, who thought that this team was going to win 5-6 games, and somehow the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the roster that they have and the question marks that they have at quarterback, they're 3-0. Some of this is coaching, but some of this also comes down to the fact that a guy who's getting paid an inordinate sum of money is just not performing at the level that he should. So, embarrassing loss. I hope the Browns fan base kind of takes this to heart. Maybe go yell outside Jimmy Haslam's house and tell him to just sell the fucking team. Like, this has got to stop. Ownership, they should sell it. It will never happen. But at least the one thing that you can do is just end this Deshaun Watson experiment. It has been painful. He's had a couple of decent games since he's been the starter for this team. And I think we're up to 14, 15 games. Stop lying to yourself. All right. I'm done. Browns thoughts here. Like, share, and subscribe here on the channel. OT Mike Sports on Twitter and Off the Mic 28 if you want to follow me. Thanks so much for watching. I will have later reaction to the NFL games later on tonight, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.